what's happening then. I'm going to tell you about it. Don't you go anywhere, because this is where your power comes from. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Welcome to Vintage Wisdom. Vintage Wisdom. Vintage is about when the grapes are crushed. That's a good year. Wisdom, when you put it all together, it's about getting a little, I don't want to say old or older, or, like they call people my age, seasoned. So I call it vintage. Vintage is a time when you've gone through life and there's been some moments where you've had to learn who you are, what you are. And when it's the tough times, the stress times, that is when the best tasting wine, that's what they say in the wine industry. When I transfer this to life, this is when I believe some of the best wisdom of life comes. Things that we've gone through, got through, and are able to share it with others. That's what vintage wisdom is, about sharing some of these moments with you. So take a moment before we get started, and I'm not going to take a long time. Go ahead and smash that subscription button to let me know that you're there, and hit that follow button, that blue follow button. If you're on Facebook, hit it and let me know. It adds to it. I know these are algorithms, the like button, algorithms. We're not supposed to be following the algorithms, but this is the way the world works. So let's do it. And you can always comment, let me know where you're coming from, but I can talk about that later. Back in around 1660s or the mid 17th century, there was a moment in time when people didn't think that much about race. And I get it many times on my radio, not many times, but it comes up, people says, why are you always talking about race? And it's not that you're always talking about race. It's the world that we're living in and what people bring up. And when you see things happening to people because of race, whether or not they're shot, whether or not they're hurt, whether or not people can get along, whether or not we can make something powerful happen in our country, and we see what's happening with race, there are things we have to talk about. It's not about race. It's about this thing that they made up called race. Up until around the mid 17th century, people knew each other. People had come across, there were slaves that came across around 1619 that were in, and I'm talking about America right now, that were in this country, that were dealing with tobacco and planting, indentured servanthood, things of that sort. But during that particular time, around that early 17th century, there were people of all colors. Spanish, African people who had come from the continent, people who had come from Ireland, people who had come from Russia, people who had come from Europe. And everybody that came from these countries were not always, looking side-eyed folk because of their quote unquote race, because race was not necessarily a big deal. Yes, people could see somebody was a different hue or tone or color than they were. But it wasn't around until a little bit after the mid 1600s that people began to talk about something called white. White does not mean light skin or the color white. Black does not mean black or the color black. In other words, based on extreme distance. So when people say, when you hear people say, they're white or they're black, we automatically think in terms that must mean something. what had happened is that people had come together. Unity. People were learning to live together in this new land, in this new country. As a matter of fact, I was looking, Professor Gates that does that Finding Your Roots. He was doing a football player, and he had gotten back into this football player's life, and where they say turn the page, to find your roots, and come to find out that someone way back, great grandmother, was not an enslaved person who had a child by a white male. This one was a white female who had a child with a black male. Now, this was a little different. It wasn't rape. It was a marriage. It was a relationship. There were people who married at that particular time. There were people who came together. Well, somebody got the bright idea that if they wanted to retain their money, if they wanted to retain what they felt was security, they must somehow keep the indigenous people, black people, and people, white people, apart. So they came up with this term called white. And you start hearing white person or white female or white male. They start using that term in order to create a division between white and other people. They start putting it in the laws. They start putting it in amendments. They start putting it wherever they could write it in the newspaper. It was almost what they call it, divide and conquer. So you can't marry this person because of their color. See, color, white didn't mean color. White meant a type of class of person or a different person over there. As a matter of fact, nobody even really knew what white was. It hadn't even been determined. Colors wouldn't really be determined until later on by the Supreme Court, a few hundred years later. When we see this, the goal was to keep people divided. And this is what I'm seeing in our country right now. This is what vintage wisdom is about. How do we see ourselves? How do we see each other? Let's think a little higher. Let's think a little deeper. And when we look at what's going on in the world, let's take it up a bit. What's happening in Russia? What's happening in Ukraine? That war that's going on right now. China is looking at maybe another country that they might be able to bring up under their thumb. United States is watching China. What's happening with China? You've got all the economic situations taking place in England. You've got the French that are revolting because, guess what? They're trying to take the retirement age, what I think is from 62 to 64. And they were telling that joke about the fact that, but yet we got an 80-year-old man that's saying, let me be president. I want to keep working. You've got wars that are taking place over in Africa right now. And the world has to determine what are they going to do here. You've got refugees that are moving toward Egypt on across the Red Sea, different areas of Africa in order to people who are being displaced just to survive because somebody is fighting, and actually two people who at one time were allies or considered to be friends. You've got unrest in South America, all over this world. And the country that has the name United States of America, that is supposed to be the the unity, the fortress of sanity. Great division is now in this country right now. If you've got disunity in America, what do you think is going to happen with the stability of countries all over this world? The disunity in America messes with our economic stability. Disunity. And you say, well, what do you mean disunity? I'm talking about this Cold War that we're dealing with, we quote, race, unquote, within America. Have we not even figured out that we have been divided again? When race is not even a real thing, it is something that has been made up. The social construct. We're looking at a country that if we could just sit down, maybe I don't even know if you can have a town hall and talk about this thing. What this seems to be all about is how this country is to be run. And the center of this whole kabobble, if that's a word I can even use, comes from religion. Yeah. Religion. Everything seems to stream from religion. When you have uprisings, when you want conflict with people, one of the first things they did was let's get people to believe that Jesus was not dark, but white European. And if we can get Jesus that way, put Jesus in the sky, and keep that division there, then if he's the Son of God, then God must be white also. This is the religion that actually walked across on the shores of this country. We almost didn't buy into it, but people did. And what do you do? Do you pray to a God who is of a different race or a different color than you and might not help you? So the religion from the very beginning, right on the shores of this country, was made to be white, not even the color of her skin. It was made to be this social construct, this concept of disunity. But that's what vintage wisdom is about. Vintage means when the grapes are crushed. What year? I believe we are in a moment and a time right now of crushing. It is a time where, as people, we're going to have to learn how to depend on each other. There are people out there right now that say, hey, we don't need you. You don't need us. We don't need you. But we're going to find out as Americans just how much we need each other, how much we can share with each other that can make this country better. Imagine walking into your house telling your significant other, I don't need you. We need each other. Our power is in our unity. But if we are deceived about who's better than who made this country, who was the one that created this country, you did, I didn't, you did. With that disunity, we cannot save the world. The world is going to stay on fire. Look, take a moment. Hit that button. Hit that like button if you like what's being said, because I can continue to say more. But in the meantime, if you're saying we need to come together into some real unity and understand some real spirituality, hit that comment button and say, I understand what you're talking about. I hear you. I hear you. Send it to me. Let me know that you're out there. I'll be right back. Hey, this is Dr. Ed. We've been on this journey for over 40 years. Some have been there with us for almost 40. Some have just started this journey with us. But what we've been able to do is help people to find joy, peace, enlightenment. They have grown tremendously, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and it's all because of your contributions, your help, our journey on this road. Take a moment, make a contribution at myalc.org. That's myalc.org. That's our website. That's our main place where you're even able to watch our show on Sunday mornings. Not only that, but you can also give through our app. And you can download that app from Google Play, or you can download it from the App Store by just typing in Abundant Life Center, or you can type in Ed Montgomery and the Abundant Life Center app will pop up and you can download it. It only takes a few moments, and you can have that way. You can carry it with you on your phone and your iPads and all those kind of good things. Not only that, but you can also do text to give. That's very popular because people are able to give if they forget to be on their website or their app. They can just give right on the spot, real fast, real quick. Sometimes they do text to give even when we're inside of a church service. And you can do that by texting to 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. Or you could give through our P.O. Box. Safe, sound, secure. You can give, you can make sure you put a stamp on the envelope, but you can, write us a little note, drop me a little note, whatever you want to do, and mail it. There are some folks that's just, hey, I'm just going to mail this. And you can mail your contribution, and that's to the Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. I'm going to say it again. That's that old radio thing. You got to say it twice. Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. Continue on this journey with us. And if you're new for the first time, start this journey with us. I promise you, not only will it change your life, but you'll change the life of so many around you. And that'll make you feel real good inside. Thanks. Listen, keep your head up, keep your shoulders back. Don't let people take away your power. Make sure when you hit that donate button, hit it knowing that what you give is what's going to help us continue on. Thank you so much. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button, smash it, crash it,